بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. The Caliphate Integration Policy written by Islam Steve. This is an excerpt from the book Ad-Dawlatul Islamiyya, the Islamic State by Sheikh Taqiyuddin al-Nabahani, Molding People into One Nation. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ passed away as the entire Arabian Peninsula had entered into the fold of Islam and polytheism had been abolished. The peninsula was under the Islamic dominion, ruled comprehensively by Islam according to its Aqidah belief and the system that emanated from it. Prophet died only after Allah, the Most High, prepared the deen, a way of life, completed his favor unto the Muslims, and chose for them Islam as their deen. This included the invitation of neighboring nations and people to Islam by sending envoys to the kings and rulers as well as by dispatching expeditions to raid the Roman frontiers of Muta and Tabuk. Then came the Khulafa al-Rashidin, the Caliphs, and the conquest continued. Iraq was inhabited by a mixture of Arabs and Persians who professed the faiths of Christians, Mazdakiya, and Zoroastrians, and this was the first country to be conquered. Persia followed next, and Sham after that. Persia was inhabited by Zoroastrians, Jews, and Christians, and ruled over by the Persians, while Sham was a Roman colony, where the Roman culture and Christianity were prominent. Syrians, Armenians, Jews, Arabs, and a few Romans lived there. Egypt was conquered after this, and it too was inhabited by a mixture of people such as the Copts, Jews, and Romans. North Africa followed suit, and this was where the Berbers lived under Roman dominance. Along came the Umayyads, and they conquered Sind, Khawarizm, and Samarkand, joining them to the Islamic State in the process. Al-Andalus was then conquered and became Al-Wilaya province of the Islamic State. The inhabitants of these countries varied in ethnicity, language, religions, traditions, customs, laws, and culture. They naturally differed from each other in mentality and attitude. Therefore, the process of molding these countries together and of uniting them into one single ummah, adopting the same deen, language, culture, and laws was a colossal task. Success will be a tremendous and extraordinary achievement. This happened solely through Islam and was only achieved by the Islamic State. Once those people were identified by the banner of Islam and ruled by the Islamic State, they became a single ummah, which is the Islamic ummah. This feat was due to the effect of Islamic rule and the Islamic Aqidah, manifestly to the successful molding of these disparate people into one ummah, the most important of which were the following four factors. Number one, the teachings of Islam. Two, the cohabitation of the Muslims. To the cohabitation of the Muslims with the liberated people in their daily life and work. 3. The quick embracing of Islam by the people of the conquered countries. 4. The radical change in the life of those who embrace Islam and their transformation from a dismal institution to a better one. The teachings of Islam oblige Muslims to call for Islam and spread its guidance wherever and whenever possible. This necessitates jihad and the conquest of other countries in order to enable people to understand it and contemplate the truthfulness of its rules. It also gives the people the choice between embracing Islam or retaining their faith if they so wished, provided that they submit to its rules related to the matters of transactions and penal code. This last point is important because it will develop harmony in the people's actions and dealings once the system and rules that deal with their problems become unified, and it will also serve to make the non-Muslims feel like Muslims by being part of the society, sharing the same system, enjoying the peace of mind and the guardianship of the state. Teaching of Islam is said that the rule people should be looked upon from a human point of view and not a racial, tribal, or sectarian one. Therefore, the Islamic laws related to the social and penal matters must be equally implemented upon every citizen with no difference between the Muslims or non-Muslims. Allah Most High says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada bil qist ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. All you who believe, show integrity for the sake of Allah, bearing witness with justice. Not let hatred for people incite you into not being just. Be just, that is closer to taqwa. Have taqwa of Allah. Allah is well aware of what you do. Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, verse 8. All people are equal in the eyes of the law. The ruler looks after the people's affairs and rules over them. The judge settles people's disputes without any prejudice, looks upon them from a human point of view with the aim of solving their problems and settling their disputes The ruling system in Islam introduces true unity and equality between the different religions of the state. Islam commands the rulers to guarantee the basic needs of all the wilayat of the state with grants provided by the treasury, regardless of the amount of revenues being collected from each wilaya, and regardless of whether these levies cover the expenditure or not. Islam commands a single financial policy by collecting levies for the treasury from all the wilayat, thus helping to mold the conquered countries to wilayat and making them to one state. This is what the Islamic ruling system would and did inevitably achieve. The mixing of the Muslim with the indigenous people was one of the major factors that led to those people entering Islam and integrating with other Muslims. After conquering a country, the Muslims would take up residence there and begin teaching the people of Islam and Islamic culture. They lived in neighboring houses, they shared in all of life's affairs and became subjects of one country, being ruled by the same laws. There never existed two different segregated communities, divided into conquerors and conquered, winners and the defeated. They were all citizens of the state who helped each other in their daily affairs. The conquered people looked upon the rulers as being a different type of people whom they had never encountered before. They witnessed the equality with which they treated them by placing themselves on the same level and serving them and managing their affairs. They experienced fine treatment by rulers of five qualities, and this made them adherent towards the rulers and towards Islam. The rulers and other Muslims would marry women from the people of the book, Jews and Christians, eat their slaughtered meat and their food. This served as an incentive for them to enter Islam, because they witnessed the effect of Islam through the rulers and saw the light of Islam through the system being implemented upon them. As a result, these people became integrated and constituted a single ummah. The entering of the indigenous people into Islam was not limited to a time period or a country. The people of each country embraced Islam en masse. People continued to enter into Islam until most of them were Muslims, and Islam was not merely confined to Muslim conquerors. By entering into Islam, the people of the conquered countries integrated with the conquerors and became one single ummah. The comprehensive change that Islam caused in those who embraced it led to the raising of the intellectual level of those new Muslims. This developed in them the Islamic Aqidah, which became an ideological basis upon which all concepts were founded and measured. As a result, Islam took them from an emotional-based belief faith to a rationally founded belief. It transformed them from the worship of idols upon other human beings and fire and the belief in the Trinity and other similar types of worship, which led to a steep decline in the intellectual level, the worship of Allah, which led and will continue to lead to the establishment of an enlightened mind. Islam made them believe in the hereafter and led them to comprehend it in the way that the Quran and the Sunnah have presented it and the reward and punishment in it. So they conceived of it as being real, and this led them to acquire a true meaning of this life, thus being the path to another happy and eternal life. They held life with open arms and they did not neglect it. They took its means and enjoyed the pleasures and wealth that Allah Most High, the one who provides the right criteria and perceptions of life. Prior to the advent of Islam, the criterion of life was based on personal interest as the only controls to perform any action. After the acceptance of Islam, the criterion of the action changed and came to be based on what? This criterion became the driving force behind the actions. Its guidelines were according to what Allah Most High had commanded and prohibited. The aim of the actions became attaining Allah's pleasure. The value of the action became the objective behind the performance of the action. It will be spiritual if it were prayer or jihad, material if it were buying or selling, moral if it was a trust or an act of compassion. The criterion became the driving force behind the actions, and its guidelines were according to what Allah Most High had commanded and prohibited. The aim of the actions became attaining Allah's pleasure. The value of the action became the objective behind the performance of the action. It will be spiritual if it were prayer or jihad, material if it were buying or selling, moral if it was a trust or an act of compassion, humanitarian if one was being assisted in a crisis. Etc. People began differentiating between the motive behind the action and the value of the action. As a result, their conception of life became different from their previous one. It became the true conception about the life measured by criterion that Islam had set, this being the commands of Allah the Most High. Islam gave the people a true meaning of happiness. Happiness had been in their original view. The justification of the instinct and organic needs is come to be transformed into gaining the pleasure of Allah Most High. This entails true happiness because true happiness means total and permanent peace of mind, and this can never be achieved merely through satisfying the human desires and acquiring material pleasures. It can only be achieved by obtaining the pleasure of the Lord of the universe. This is how Islam affected the viewpoint of the people who embraced it. Their viewpoint about life and the actions which they perform in this life change. The orders of priorities also change. Some went up in value and others come down. Life to the human being was at the top of his list of priorities to begin with, and the religion came second. And Islam came and reversed the situation so that the religion comes to the top of the human beings' priorities of life. As a result of this, the Muslims began to devote their lives to the service of Islam because they correctly considered that Islam was more precious than life, and it was only a natural corollary for the Muslim to endure hardship and sacrifice in the way of Islam. Life's matters come to be placed in the appropriate order of property. Life became honorable and dignified, and the Muslim acquired a permanent peace of mind once he set his ultimate objective to that being the pleasure of Allah the Most High. The new Muslim concept of the highest ideal changed in the past. The people had different and ever-changing ideas. Now they acquired the one and only legitimate objective. This resulted in the changing of things that matter to them and changing the definition of virtue. The basis of virtues formerly included things like personal courage, individual decency, and respectively sectarian backing, boasting about wealth and noble descent, generosity to the point of extravagance, faithfulness to the tribe or clan, mercifulness and revenge, and other similar acts. Islam changed all that. It made all of these qualities trivial, with the human which the human could take or leave according to Allah's decree, but according to the benefit they generated, nor to the pride or prestige which they instilled, nor because they were traditions or custom or a heritage one had to preserve. Islam mandating the submission to Allah's orders only. Therefore, Islam enjoyed the submitting of the individual, tribal, popular, and national interest to the commands of Islam only. This is how Islam transformed the mentalities and attitudes of the people who embrace it, changed their personalities and the evolution of man, life, and the universe. It completely altered their criteria concerning all of life's matters. People began realizing that life held a spiritual meaning, which was perfection and nobleness. They acquired a supreme ideal, which was securing the pleasure of Allah, and that was the happiness which they rigorously pursued. Therefore, they became different creatures from those which they had once been. These four major factors helped to detach all the people who embraced Islam from their former circumstances. Their concept and visions of life became unified into one concept and one vision. The management of their affairs sprang from that concept. Their interests also became unified, and they became more interested. What is the interest of Islam? Their goals in life became a single goal, which was the spreading of Allah's word in total. The interrogation of this people also into Islam was inevitable, and they eventually became a single ummah, the Islamic ummah.